Welcome to Driven, the Unscripted Success podcast, with your hosts, Mike Menino and Nariman Hamden, bringing you insights and stories on achieving personal, professional, and financial success.
Hi, everybody. It's Michael Menino. Welcome to Driven, Unscripted Success podcast. Today on the podcast, we're interviewing professionals who share their experience with you, the audience, and how they got to where they're at today. And zooming from the beautiful island of Columbia, South Carolina, is Joe Copley. How you doing, young man?
Great, Mike. How about yourself?
Better than I deserve.
It's interesting. So you've got the real estate investment background, and I'm coming to that back later in my career.
Awesome. So what did you do up to this career? Give us a quick breakdown of, we talked a little bit about how you got to where you're at today.
Right. Most of my career is insurance, claims, litigation, property, catastrophe, and then, of course, agency. There was a gap in the middle where I did real estate in the early twos to later twos when that market changed. Mortgages, I always wanted to learn about, time value money. I think I took one finance class at South Carolina. I was a business minor, psych major. I had that kind of backwards.
Nice.
Yeah, but you got to deal with people, right?
Yes. Every business you got to deal with people.
That's right. So the last 3 years, I've gotten into outdoor living, which is pools, pergolas, but it can go residential, commercial, REITs, flippers, remodelers, boat marinas, rooftop restaurants, condo houses, you name it, parks.
Nice. And what do you do in that space?
Well, you just, you market, you get the customers, and you end up running into a bunch of investors. And some of them I actually kind of know, or at least know their name or their, business or something. And you start helping each other, and the markets in the South is booming. People are coming.
Yeah. We both live in near Columbia, South Carolina, and it is the fastest growing state per capita.
It's amazing. It's a small state, which the cool thing, it's easy to get around from Charlotte to Atlanta, Greenville, Charleston, Myrtle Beach, you name it. Lake Murray is a nice place, as you well know. My dad built a house out there almost entirely by himself.
That sounds like hard.
In fact, get this, Mike. The condo place I live across the street from Richland Mall, it was an old mall in Forest Acres they knocked down, and they're redoing it like different, trying to make it like Charlotte-like,
Gotcha.
The roofer guy that sold all the roofs for all these buildings did that house that my dad built in 1974.
Nice.
So in other words, that was probably the third roof on that house at the lake, but we should have kept that lake house. So Mike, keep that house, where you are.
So that's one of the things I've learned over real estate. We flip houses, and we should keep more of the houses. This one flipper taught us every 5 to 8 houses you should keep one. And that's one of the mistakes that we do, is not keep the flip houses. But now we're in multifamily, and that's just the same thing as investing in real estate, but just multiples. You can buy 100 units in one transaction versus 100 transactions, which is a lot harder.
I just got some information. A guy out of New York, his name is Richard Lefrak, LEFRAK. Mm-hmm. That family goes back to 1880, and New York City came out of France. At the time, Statue of Liberty came out to New York. You know what I mean?
Wow.
And
you've been there a minute.
Yeah, so he's big into multifamily in the Northeast, of course, New Jersey, New York, Connecticut, all that. And then D.C. area, Maryland, Delmarva, And then he's in California and Florida, but he's looking at the Southeast.
You'd be surprised who's looking at the Southeast. You'd be surprised. Everybody's looking at the Southeast. Let me give you some reasons why.
Please. I think I know, but why? Humor, yeah.
I'll give you my synopsis, then you give me yours. So what what I've noticed is we own some properties in North Carolina and we own some properties in Michigan and South Carolina. Now the difference is there's a lot more snow in the northern states. So there's an added expense to owning any property is snow removal, which you don't have that expense here. You also don't have pipes freezing and busting, and you don't have higher taxes. Right? The tax ratio for anywhere in the Midwest, anywhere from Chicago to New York, is a very high tax basin. And then you come down here in the southern states, and they're a lot less. So there's a lot of benefits to that's why they're looking in this. I feel they're looking. What do you think?
I totally agree with everything you said. And take South Carolina. I was telling you earlier, it's a small state. Yes, it used to be just textiles in the upstate and a little bit in Columbia and, the beach and farmland and woods. That was South Carolina, right? We used to always say, thank God for Mississippi, not being disrespectful. Mississippi's pretty state. I've been there. Now auto manufacturing is big in South Carolina. Yeah, Boeing in Charleston, Volvo, which is Swedish, BMW is German, Scout Motors owned by Volkswagen, which is German, Blythewood, right above Columbia. Mm-hmm. And I've been dealing with some of these guys. I can get to the governor, old fraternity brother, Andre Bauer out of Greenville, works for Broad Street Investors on Broad Street, New York, across the street from the New York Stock Exchange. And he handles South Carolina, of course. And I used to say politics is dirty, and it can be, but politics does open up doors. So all he does is sell $100 million blocks of dirt in South Carolina. Mm-hmm. It gets going in North Carolina a little bit, a little Georgia, say Asheville, old Charlotte, Augusta, Savannah or something. But he'll work on commercial deals at the port. Could be Lake Marion. They just did one, Crystal Lakes, which is not a chain, but it's neighborhoods where the little lake is clear and they use canoes. That it's not deep, so you don't have motorboats, but say kayak, canoe, whatever. That's North Columbia. It's gonna.
Well, if you want to
Scout
talk
Motors. And the union thing. That's the other thing. That's why Boeing came. Let me tell you, these Germans are serious, Mike.
You're telling the wrong person. I know that wholeheartedly. I know why they're out here too. You know why they're coming into North Carolina and South Carolina?
I mean, the labor's cheaper, I guess, non-union. You tell me.
The battery. So you see a lot of battery plants popping up. In Liberty, North Carolina.
Okay.
Right? Toyota built a battery plant.
Yeah.
5,000 employees. Why would they do that?
It's got to be the ROI, right?
It's always the ROI. But the material's here too. Right? All the substance you need for building car batteries, or, there's a big push to go into electric vehicles, right?
Right.
And all the minerals needed are in these areas. That's why they're putting the research development and manufacturing plants here. So they don't have to transport a lot of material. The one thing we don't have around here is cobalt, but everything else is pretty much readily available.
More mountainous when you say like North Carolina mountains with the minerals, you say?
Yeah. Well, North Carolina and South Carolina. That's why they put the battery plants here, because they're not far away.
Right.
So when they buy a property and build a building, they know nearby is where their quarry is.
So you save on rail, transportation, trucking, et cetera.
Everything.
Yeah.
Like you said it best. That was the greatest words you ever said, probably. It's the ROI, that return on investment. They do a lot of cost segregation studies on where to put their places, and like you said, a lot of the cheaper labors. I just love the people out here, though. I mean, the people out here are just so nice. I actually feel like a jerk because everybody's so nice to me.
We do have some nice people, no doubt about it.
But I don't think the rest of the world notices that until you come out here and visit. Like, Greenville is an amazing area with a thriving economy.
Get this, Sam Condura's my age. We both graduated Lexington High School in 1981, so we're 62 years old. His father was a lawyer from McNair Law Firm, big firm out of Columbia, but it's gone nationwide. Some of these firms like other companies. They brought in BMW in '93. Well, Big Jim, Sam's dad, groomed him pretty good. He goes, look, we're turning over the textiles in the upstate. We're going to turn it into auto manufacturing.
Yep.
I suggest you go to Clemson. Because
Really?
his brother was a fraternity brother of mine. Daddy went to Carolina, blah, blah, blah. It's a business. Instead of going Garnet Black or saying Michigan, Ohio State, I love it. I spent 6 weeks in Ohio. You'd love the Michigan, Ohio State stuff. I went into Michigan.
Oh, dude, that's a rivalry. I'm surprised nobody's been shot either side.
But I mean, Alabama, you name them all, but
Yeah,
it's a business. So they turned in sleepy upstate South Carolina textiles. You ever heard the term lint head?
I have.
It's sort of a derogatory term, archaic, but let's really know what it means. But, after slavery, then you had the mill, especially in the South. So where people, unless you owned a farm or a doctor or lawyer or something, probably didn't have a whole lot of engineers back then. You went to work for the mill. So you work so many hours with fabric, you get lint on your head, and you're so tired, you don't even care. You don't even wipe it off. So that's what a lint head is.
I didn't know that. That's a great verbiage. I appreciate that.
So anyway, now with auto manufacturing, and you got computers, you need healthcare, you need these houses remodeled, people buying them, these older parts of town, they're making them quaint again. Some of these small towns, like a buddy of mine runs a bank out of Union. But it's easy, like I can get on the phone with, say, Sam Conduras or Andre Bauer at Greenville. My buddies in Charleston, Myrtle Beach, Columbia, of course. And it's easy to do business.
Nice. Hey, if someone listening to the podcast wants to get better at what you do, what suggestions would you give? What tips and tricks would you try and relate to them?
Well, you got to experiment. None of us like to fail, right? And I've done that a couple times. Hopefully, not as many more in the future. But I like a lot of different things. Of course, everybody likes to travel and have fun. And the single guy with no kids, I got a little more freedom in that area.
Nice.
Love boating, water. You got Lake Murray, rivers, fishing, nature, of course, the coast. But my dad was a builder, and I worked for him in the summers, like high school, a little bit of college. And I didn't want to go work in the weather, not even talking about Michigan weather. So of course it gets too hotter here, as you know.
I'm okay with that, but you'd have to experience a Michigan winter to not like it.
I've been in New York in February with a foot of snow on the ground. Dad's sister, the architect, I had to give the eulogy in her house.
Oh,
Frank Lloyd Wright, it's called the Diamond in the Catskills, about 60 miles up the Hudson from New York City. Anyway,
hey, you made mention of that. There was your friend that owns a Franklin Lloyd Wright house.
That was my aunt. It was her
aunt?
house. She was a protege. So in other words, she met Frank Lloyd Wright in Raleigh, North Carolina in the 40s, flunking out of home ec. She didn't like ironing clothes and typical housewife, leave it to Beaver days before 1950. Right after World War II. So she meets Frank Lloyd Wright in Raleigh. He goes, look, I got one more stop in Pratt, which is, I think, the Bronx or Bronx of New York, greater New York City area. He goes, you pass the test, we'll let you in. Well, the rest was history. So she built a bunch of commercial buildings downtown New York City until she was about 50 years old. And she wanted to really get out to the country, if you will, kind of like St. Chapin, if you will.
Right.
So Kingston, New York, former state capital of the state of New York. The British were coming in the Revolution, so that all these capitals moved inland, like Charleston to Columbia, Wilmington to Raleigh, all the way up. A lot of people, I've talked to people in Kingston, New York. I said, this used to be the state capital of your state. What are you talking about? I had to Google.
There you go.
But anyway, you got to build something.
Got to build something.
And Dad did some remodeling. You know where Elmwood Park is in Columbia?
What's the name? Allen Park?
Elmwood, like an elm tree.
Yeah.
So if you're coming in 26 from Irmo Chapin,
yep.
You know, Dad's into Columbia, 126.
Right.
You know, that spur off of 26. But you pass the zoo, Greystone Boulevard's the last exit, and then you dead into Columbia.
Gotcha.
That's Elmwood Avenue. So hence Elmwood Park is to the left. They're all like 1900, 1910 houses. Right.
That's a minute ago.
Yeah, you just right next time you got about 15 minutes, you can kind of loop around a few of those streets and you'll see.
All right.
But you know, you got Shandon, Cottontown, but a lot of these small towns.
A lot of little towns around here. A lot of really nice. And we were talking off camera, the people around here are so nice. It's crazy. It's awesome. Hey,
it is.
Joe, what is one of the biggest challenges you had to overcome in your career, and how did you do it?
The agency I had Mount Pleasant near Charleston, just over the big bridge. COVID era, 2020. 2 remote employees and 1 at the office. So 3 plus me, you could say 4. Advertising's tight. Got guidelines you got to follow. Gold Coast, or what do you call it? A goalpost get moved sometimes. Contract. So if I put it, I had to put it in Charleston because I was thinking I love the boats, and me being a single guy, there's more single people coming like Florida. And so I put it down there, which makes the rates high. I should have put the agency in Columbia. I should have done research. And my accountant did tell me to get forensic accounting with insurance agency background. I didn't. I'm not sure. That was a mistake. But just get sold and move on. Took a few months off, went out west.
Yeah, where'd you go? You mentioned you went to California.
Yeah, I lived in the Bay Area in the late 90s. I was a software rep, insurance. Company got bought by a company out there. And of course, you know, San Francisco software capital of the world, especially back then. But I enjoyed it. In fact, I got the Golden Gate. Yeah.
California's really nice. Someone told me a long time ago, California's great. The only problem with California is the Californians.
Well, right. And it's my California buddies, they're moving to Florida, Texas, and the Carolinas.
Yeah.
Because they're just smart. You and I. In fact, one of them, Javier, does some flips and rentals. You know, so he does on a small scale what you do.
Awesome. Well, he's doing well then, because I do love real estate. Got a quick question for you.
Yes.
What if you could go back to your 20s?
Yeah.
What would you do different, and what would you do the same?
And I guess go what, personally and professionally, or more professional, you say?
Oh.
Well, with my marriage, I probably would have compromised. I didn't want to go to concerts, and she didn't like country clubs. We probably should have met.
Gotcha.
So that's the personal. That's pretty much it. Even a nice person, you know what I mean? I don't like drama, so I've always been good at that. I don't do the drama thing, but business, I was an adjuster. I didn't know what I wanted to do when I got out of South Carolina. That's one thing that the Germans that I've learned in my own backyard, they teach you how to bring a business into South Carolina and other states that they're in, I'm sure. How to get grants, loans with better rates, tax breaks. I'd have looked more at investing in real estate back then, kind of like you do.
Yeah.
Dad was a contractor. He kind of wanted me to be a contractor. He didn't push it hard. He knew I didn't like the hot weather. And I learned how to drive nails and run a saw and run a tape measure or whatever. But I like more of the sales aspect.
Well, that's where you can make the good money.
Yes.
Sales, if you're a good salesman, you can make money anywhere, anytime.
Network, help people do it right, deliver.
Exactly. Sounds like things are going pretty well for you. Thinking about the future, have you ever considered or made passive income before, and how'd you do it?
Well, when you say passive, such as residual or say stock market or
right. So any way to make money without doing a lot of work. That's really the best. Some people write books and they get the residuals after doing the effort up front, and then later on do the books. Real estate, obviously, real estate's a big one.
Stocks, yes. How about podcasting? Monetizing podcasting advertising.
Yeah.
A buddy of mine, Mike Morgan's an ESPN guy, national in Atlanta. Got access to advertising there. We're talking to
Oh, really?
Yep.
I love ESPN.
And that's all the sports, NFL, college. I was talking Big Ten talk in Columbus, Ohio. You'd have loved it. Then I got over to Michigan and I flipped it.
Nice.
But everybody's got to have advertising, right? Somebody's going to buy a shirt or clothes or a trip or furniture, something. Neighborhood.
Yep. Agreed. Wrapping up the interview, I'm wondering what, thanks for being on. Your plans, what do you got coming up the next 6 to 12 months? What do you got new and exciting coming up?
Well, I've been helping out with the university. Buddy of mine, Chip Huggins, runs business development. Working on a venture there and tying in advertising. There's going to be a lot of construction. I'm kind of buddying back up with guys I've known for years who've been running these construction companies for 30 years. If I could go back, I'd have done that.
Nice. No, yeah, that's I love construction. What I loved about construction is at the end of the day you see something you did. What I hated about construction, it took forever to build a house.
Dad always said you got to get the ox out of the ditch.
You got to get the ox out of the ditch. I like that. Hey, listen, thank you very much. Thank you very much for being on the podcast. I really appreciate it. And if somebody would like to get in touch with you from the podcast, how would they do that?
My email's just Joseph L. Copley, Copley @gmail.com. Cell numbers 803-348-7200. Text first on the text. Or call. You know how people get these spam calls? Just text first. Say, hey, this is Joe Blow. I want to talk to you about XYZ.
From Driven Unscripted Success podcast.
Like your communication was perfect, professional.
Perfect. Thank you very much. Hey, Joe, thanks for being on the show. We really do appreciate it. And if anybody would like to contact Joe, please do. He's a great guy and he has a wealth of knowledge. And we'll let everybody go. Thanks very much for being on the podcast. And like and subscribe and hit that notification button so when we have the next podcast. Appreciate you all.
Thank you, Mike.
Thank you.
Yes, sir.
Thanks for listening to Driven, the Unscripted Success Podcast. Want to share your story? Apply to be a guest at drivensuccesspodcast.com/guest.